Hello, welcome to the Telescope Podcast, the show where we look at geek culture through the spyglass of faith. Matthew Sipe-Landerson here, so glad to be speaking into the microphone, creating another show for you, because I love you. All right, today's show is a special show. It marks the beginning of a new phase in the Telescope. I'm going to be breaking up the show into some different segments. We're going to do an opening segment where I greet you, have a little chit-chat, just kind of talk a little bit, introduce the feature content, which today is going to be Han Solo, the new Han Solo movie is what we're talking about. This episode is titled Questioning Han Solo. And then, after our opening discussion, after we kind of get things rolling a little bit, we're going to go into a new segment that I am calling the Science segment. I love talking about science stuff, but let's just be honest. I am an armchair scientist, an armchair science enthusiast might be more accurate to say. And so I can't really do a whole science show, and even doing a whole episode about sciencey stuff, I just feel out of my depth. So I thought, I still want to talk about science because science really influences worldview. And that's what this show is all about, is worldview and worldview questions and the Christian worldview. And so I thought, hey, why don't I just break it up? We'll do a science segment. We'll just do a little nugget of something happening in the science world, something that's just interesting, fun, and then if I feel like it, I'll comment on it as far as worldview goes and how it impacts worldview. And it'll be fun. So here we go into the first ever science segment. All right, now today, if you've looked at the news, you know that there are some massive problems in Hawaii with active volcanoes spewing out magma all over the place. There's big magma sludge. Is there a word for like a big pile of magma? I mean, I guess that's what it is, a big piles of magma rolling along like the blob through Hawaii, burning stuff, lighting stuff on fire, and going over streets and causing all kinds of havoc. But what you may not have realized is that in late 2017, scientists have begun to discover tons of volcanic activity in an unlikely place. They've discovered active volcanoes going nuts underneath Antarctica. Now, previously, we attributed the melting of the glaciers in Antarctica to global warming, but now what they're seeing is that there's actually a lot of volcanic activity. Now, I'm not necessarily discounting global warming or saying there's no global warming. Don't put words in my mouth now. Come on. But what I am saying is they found this new phenomenon happening where there's all this magma from the core of the planet being pushed up underneath the ice, creating all these rivers of water that are eroding the glaciers and, breaking them up. So here's just a little quote from an article on Forbes.com in the science section. It says, recent discoveries have revealed just how volcanic Antarctica really is, despite being hidden underneath massive ice sheets. However, up until now, there remains significant debate as to what is causing the unusual amount of volcanic activity under an area covered by ice. Recent research found the source of magma that is fueling the volcanoes underneath Antarctica. The source, a massive upwelling of mantle magma, also known as a hotspot, is a similar mechanism that produced the Hawaiian Islands and fuels volcanic geothermal activity in Yellowstone. And the article continues on with some more details, but I find that really interesting. Something I've learned about the history of science through my years in college and just being a casual observer of the scientific world is that science changes and opinions change, and so you obviously you want to give science credibility. It's a valid way to search for truth, but don't give your whole heart to science, because science has a way of flipping and flopping and going back and forth. So there you go. There is your science segment for today. All right, now it's time to talk about Han Solo. In my opinion, this movie is going to be pretty much what the trailers portray it as. It's going to be a fun origin story that just shows us the development of Han Solo's character, how he got into the light that he ended up in, and I think that our expectations are going to be met. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be super funny. There may be a little romance, although I have a feeling that, the female character could betray our hero. I don't know. So, when I was thinking about the show and thinking, well, how should I talk about Han Solo? I thought to myself, I don't really want to do the typical thing of me making a bunch of predictions and talking about what I want to see and all this stuff, because I think this is going to be a pretty straightforward movie. What I think might be more interesting is for me to tell you some of my questions in hope that you guys will hop onto my Facebook page and give me your answers and what you think's going to happen. I'd like to hear from you. I'd also like to hear some of your questions, maybe some of your hopes for this film. So I came up with 10 questions, and I'm just going to throw them out real quick. Here we go. Number 1, how far into Han's history will this go? Like, are we going to get flashbacks to little Han, young Han, kind of like we had little kid Anakin Skywalker? Or is this going to just basically pick up, Han as a young man and take us from there? I don't know. Han and Chewie, what's going to happen there? I think, obviously, we're going to get answers as to how Han and Chewie came in, but still, I'm curious. Do you have any theories, any predictions? What's going to happen? I don't know. Number 3, Han's past with the Empire. The trailers teased. My cat's being loud in the background. Be quiet, cat. My cat's name is Buddy, by the way. I have 2 cats, Buddy and Foxy. And they're really looking forward to the Han Solo movie, let me tell you. Okay, Han's past with the Empire. The trailer teased that he's going to join the Empire, but is that a ruse? Is that part of their, getting him on the inside, or is that part of his backstory? I don't know. Number 4, will someone teach Han that it's important for him to always shoot first? That would be a really funny thing, if his mentor into the smuggling world is like, hey kid, take some advice from me. If you're in a tight spot, always shoot first. That would be funny. I think that would be a nice little thing for the fans because, Han shot first. We all know it. Number 5, will Han cheat Lando? Will Lando cheat Han? Or will they both at some point cheat one another? I don't know. You don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Number 6, will any legacy characters make cameos? Like, will we see Obi-Wan Kenobi walking around like they did that cameo in Rogue One of those characters from the bar scene, right? The bar scene in A New Hope. Literally, my cat is jumping all over my equipment right now and driving me nuts. But I'm going to press on. All right. So legacy characters, I heard some speculation online that maybe they'll bring in Darth Vader. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I'm not going to give a prediction. I doubt it, but what do you think? Do you think they'll bring in Darth Vader? I mean, it would be cool. It would be cool if there was a surprise Vader appearance or something. I don't know. What do you think? Number 7, how dirty will the Millennium Falcon get by the end? It was sweet in the trailer to see the fresh, crisp, white, nice-looking Millennium Falcon. Is it going to get trashed by the end of the film, or is that just something that, we're just going to have to know that, okay, Han had this career as a smuggler, and over the years it just got beat up? I don't know. That will be interesting to find out. Number 8, will Obi-Wan's story cross the young Hans? Now, this is something that some of you who are more, I don't know, you have more Star Wars knowledge than me. Some of you might know more about this, but I just had this thought to myself, aren't all our thoughts to ourselves? I just had this thought that, Obi-Wan, Luke Skywalker, they go into town, and Han's like, I know a good pilot, and brings him to the bar, and they find Han Solo. So it made me think, okay, well, how did Obi-Wan know about Han Solo? And are we going to find out how Obi-Wan knew about Han Solo? Or is that just going to be one of those things that Han Solo has this career in smuggling, And Obi-Wan lives in this town where there's a lot of smugglers, and so he just knows about Han, and we're going to have to connect the dots on our own. They're going to leave that open-ended. What do you think? Number 9, will Boba Fett or Jabba be featured? I have a feeling that Jabba's going to show up, being that we know from the original trilogy that Han had all these dealings with Jabba. So how much he's going to be involved in the plot of this as a central character, I'm not sure. Again, love to know what you think. Love to know what you think. Maybe Han will start out working for a rival gangster to Jabba, and then eventually he'll hook up with Jabba. I don't know. And the final question, will this movie break the quote-unquote Last Jedi funk? Is it gonna bring Star Wars fans out of their discouragement, out of the black cloud, into the gloriousness of being happy, finally being happy with the Star Wars movie? It seems like every Star Wars movie since the original trilogy has had a lot of criticism. I mean, obviously there was a lot of hate toward the prequels, right, with little Annie and Jar Jar Binks and lines like, Annie, you're breaking my heart, and you were the chosen one, right? So we joke about that stuff. And then The Force Awakens, people were like, yeah, it was pretty good, but, another Death Star? Come on, man, we waited a long time. Give us a new plot. All this nostalgia, it's great, we like it, but we want more. And then, obviously, The Last Jedi, everybody was up in arms. I liked it. You can listen to my episode about why I liked it, but you know what I mean. There's a lot of haters. So will this movie make people happy? I think by and large people liked Rogue One. It's just that Rogue One didn't necessarily blow us away. It was just like, all right, it's a good movie. It's cool. It's a spinoff. It's the first spinoff. We liked it, but this didn't necessarily blow us away. I have a feeling that Han Solo will do better than Rogue One. It will be more fun, and it'll just be a very pleasurable viewing experience. All right, so that's the end of my feature talk about the nerdy stuff. Now, I'm going to introduce you to my final segment. Bring forth the telescope! That's right, this is the show where we look at geek culture through the spyglass of faith. And so that's what the final segment is bringing in faith into all this and using something from culture as a jumping off point to talk about the things of God. So how am I going to do this with Solo? Well, it's funny. I did a whole series of youth group messages for youth ministry based on Star Wars. And I'm not even going to tell you what they all were. I mean, a few of them I can do off the top of my head because I can remember them. But it's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of silly, but it was fun. And we still joke about that, now around my church. But, it was like Darth Vader, the story of redemption, and the Emperor. He was a character that we talked about, the devil, because he's just so evil and so malignant. And I'm sure there was one about Luke Skywalker, and there was one about Han Solo. And that was using Han Solo as an example of character development, right? And how God works through our lives to develop us and make us more like Him, more like in His image. So anyway, I've got a little experience talking about Han Solo and God. And in a funny way, Jesus actually reminds me of Han Solo. Now, don't stone me for saying that. Let me explain. Han Solo is a character that we love because, despite his flaws, he's got a big heart. Beneath that gruff exterior, he's someone who, he wants to help people, help the underdog, so to speak. And that really gets developed in him as he, progresses as a rebel. And Jesus is very big-hearted. And you see Jesus even being willing to break some societal boundaries, because of his big heart for people. For example, Jesus healed on the Sabbath, and it ticked off the rabbis of the day because they considered that work. But Jesus, number one, was showing them that their interpretation of the Sabbath was incorrect, and he was showing them that people are at the center of God's heart, not necessarily nitpicking the rules, right? Having nitpicky rules. So Jesus healed on the Sabbath. He spoke to the woman at the well. He cleared out the greedy merchants from the temple, and he rebuked the teachers of the law. He said that they would strain a gnat but swallow a camel, right? That's just using hyperbole to say, you guys you're majoring on the minors and you're diminishing the things that should be really important. And it just kind of reminds you of Han Solo, right? That aspect of Jesus' ministry just kind of has like a swagger to it, I think, and reminds me of good old Han Solo. So I guess, when you're watching Han Solo, of course, this movie is going to be kind of Han Solo's like descent into this life of crime, but I'm sure they'll bring out his big-heartedness, and I'm sure he'll be rescuing some people and putting his life on the line, at least a little bit. So you can't necessarily say that Han Solo is the glowing image of what it looks like to be a saint, but you can look at his life and find some interesting things. So, all right, that's the show. I will post these questions on the Facebook later today when I get an opportunity to put all the stuff online. But thank you so much for listening. I love to connect. Again, on Facebook, it's My Savior's Anthem Music and Podcasting, my website, mysaviorsanthem.com, and you can email at mysaviorsanthem@gmail.com. So 3 ways to connect. I would love to hear your questions about the Han Solo movie, and I'd love to hear your answers to my questions. So thanks again for listening. Love you. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.